Welcome back to Music Rankings, Reviews, and More. And today we're going to be going over our top 15 albums of the 1990s. So I think this should be an interesting list. I know already based off of like some pre-discussion talks, we didn't talk about anything specific, but I already can tell just based on those talks that our lists are going to vary quite a bit here. Obviously, there's going to be like some stuff we have in common as per usual. Like I've always had at least one album in common with everybody throughout each decade so far. So this fourth decade, and we have two more after this, 2000s, 2010s, which I'm sure a lot of people won't be watching because they gave up on music at that point, but like, whatever. So this should be an interesting list. I can definitely tell by looking at this list, like there are some softer albums, but a lot of this is mostly heavy stuff, because like for heavier stuff, I really like the 90s a lot, because like there's just a lot of great like grunge and metal and that kind of stuff, I think. And obviously other genres too. So yeah, this should be a pretty interesting list. I kept having to change my list quite a bit. Like some of the albums like got taken off, some got put in, and then some like just like completely flipped spots. So I mean, it should be interesting.
Yeah, most of our lists will. I'm gonna guess most of our albums will be from the early '90s, at least mine and Cyrus.
Nope,
but
not mine. Mine are like very.
I don't know. It's
Okay,
kind
that's
of
kind of
very.
spoiler, but okay.
But like for like the mainstream ones, I'm assuming most of the more popular choices.
I don't have many mainstream ones.
I know, that's why I'm saying, because like a lot of the mainstream popular ones were from the early, because like mainstream late 90s was pretty awful, not gonna lie. Deep Cuts was still good, but like
true, like for example, the new metal stuff was so good. Limp Bizkit. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't.
All right, so starting off my list, pretty interesting because I added this one today and I only heard it over the break, but it definitely like caught my attention, and maybe that's because I was listening to it in the car rather than like headphones, because I'm more likely to give something a chance if I don't hear it through headphones, because headphones it's like kind of like feels like it's in your brain, but that's besides the point. So from 1995, this is Above by Mad Season. This is a like supergroup album, so it's like Lane Staley on vocals, and then like a lot of the other like instrumentalist members from like other grunge bands like Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and that kind of stuff. So it's those three bands. There's no Nirvana involved, which I'm not complaining because, well, no, it just wouldn't fit the style. I don't think, because they definitely don't sound like those other three. Those other three have some stuff in common, like great vocalists, for example. Yeah, but this is a pretty consistent record overall. Obviously, I don't know as much about it as like the other 14 on my list, because like it's still relatively new to me, but because it caught my attention that quick and a lot of albums don't, I think it deserves a spot on my list, so that's why it's here.
Nice. I haven't heard that album yet.
Neither have I.
Same.
I've heard of them, but I've only heard of them kind of recently. So.
Well, that's like their only album, so it's kind of similar to like the Tamlo Dogs, but that album's a lot better. But we'll get onto that later.
Nice. For me, for number 15, I debated up until this video started what number 15 was going to be. It was between the Damn Yankees debut, Core, Motley Crue, and FireHouse, and I ended up going with FireHouse as my number 15. And their debut from 1990, fantastic album. It's full of a lot of great songs. Don't Treat Me Bad is one of my favorites. Lover's Lane, All She Wrote, Rock on the Radio. Love of a Lifetime. It was like voted the best wedding song of the 90s or whatever. Anyway, great album. I really love it. And it had to fight off some pretty good competition to get on this list, because the top 15 was pretty difficult. Like, there was a lot of albums that could have made it.
Same.
Nice. All right.
I'm interested to hear picks the most out of anyone. Because I just honestly don't know what he's gonna put. It's not because I have expectations. It's because I have no expectations.
All right, so number 15, I have Rust in Peace by Megadeth. So this is the best Megadeth album in my opinion. This is like probably the only Megadeth album I'd say I love. Some of their other stuff I guess good, but not usually my style. So most of the songs on here are pretty good. Guitar drumming is excellent. Vocals, it's Dave Mustaine. Do I need to say more? I don't think so. And my favorite songs, Holy War is the Punishment Due, Hangar 18, and Tornado Souls.
Nice.
Nice. Those are probably the best songs on the album. Yeah. Number 15, I have the Red Hot Chili Peppers with Californication.
Let's
I could have
go.
won with Blood Sugar, but this is my favorite by a little bit. Both
Wait,
are great
from
albums.
or just
Blood
from
Sugar
that?
almost made, but anyways,
Oh,
Californication is the one I went with. Obviously the big hits, Scar Tissue, Other Side, Title Track are really good, but honestly, I can't really. Most of the album is very good too. It I don't know how to describe it, but it's just a kind of relaxing album with like less of like the aggressive or not aggressive, but less of the funk and more of just I guess alternative.
yeah, I agree with that assessment. But it's like the perfect blend between Blood Sugar and By the Way for me. Like mixes the
Yeah,
styles. And
exactly.
what I was gonna ask though is like just your favorite from them in the '90s or just in general?
Probably in general.
Okay, mine is not in my. I have spoiler alert an album or maybe two by them in this decade, but neither of which are my favorite by them of all time, which we'll get into in a different list.
Right.
That might have gave it away,
Yeah,
but
it did.
that's
Pun intended, right?
speaking. Well, let's just stay on the same album here. At number 14, I also have Californication. It took different number, just one spot higher. Yeah, so from 1999, definitely one of the better later like 90s albums for me at least, because I'm not a huge fan of later 90s stuff, but that's all right. This is probably my third favorite album by them overall, and second of the decade. That kind of gives it that I have one higher. Probably guess what that is. Yeah, it kind of like what I was saying to Nick is like it blends like the styles, like By the Way, like which was to come like 3 years later, and then like you know, Blood Sugar, which was like 8 years back at that point. It blends the styles perfectly, creates a lot of good songs. There's like a dud or two here and there, but that's what you get with their albums just because they have like so many songs per album. It's like 17 songs and they all sound pretty different. So like there's bound to be one or two duds. So, but that's okay. Most of the tracks here are pretty good. So,
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. Also coming in at number 14, Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Hype Train.
Uh, yeah, kind of. I mean, they've said it all. The album cover is one of my favorite album covers. I really love the album cover. I think it's super cool. I really am attracted to colorful albums, and I really want this on a T-shirt. Because I think that'd be cool. And almost made it a spot higher, but as I look through the track list, there are a couple I don't really care for. I like their.
Oh yeah,
Unfortunately,
that song's a dud.
they left.
Yeah.
They left some good songs off of here. What Elixir? I know I butchered that, but I can't pronounce it as a bonus, and that's one of their best. So they made a mistake. But Parallel Universe, Scar Tissue, Other Side, Californication, Savior. It's really a great album. It's fantastic. So
Yeah,
just a couple of duds, and I don't know. I don't think I really have a clear cut favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers album. So it's up there though.
all right. Well, I know Christoph won't continue the train, so let's hear what he has that's different than the last three picks in a row.
Yep, you're right about that. So number 14, I have 10 by Pearl Jam. It's one of
Nice.
maybe my favorite grunge album. I don't know. Probably. Actually, yeah, probably. So riffs really great. First three tracks, oh, excellent. Really good start to the album. Rest of the album also pretty good, but I do
Well, I
prefer the first half personally. But
Oh, the first
yeah,
half is full.
first six, like
yeah,
even you, I know you said first three, but also like Wygo and then
just
Black
first
and
half
German
in
also.
general, really good.
Once through Jeremy is yeah. Anyways,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then my favorites are Alive, Even Flow, and Once.
Good
Nice.
fave.
Once is underrated in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Great
Yeah, it's
opener.
to actually like off that album because I'm not really a Pearl Jam fan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Number 4, Rage Against the Machine's self-titled album. Great
Nice.
album. I don't think this album has a single like weak track or skip. From the opening bomb track to Killing of the Name to Freedom, and yeah, I forgot the other ones off the top of my head. They're all great. Not all the songs are, like really high energy and just I guess good workout music. Zach's
Hmm.
vocals are
Yeah.
amazing. Probably some of the best hard just vocals in general. I feel like 'cause he has such a unique voice, and the guitar
Yeah,
works pretty good too. Great
I mean,
album.
just the band is also very unique. Tom Morello is very unique as a guitarist. I've always said he has one of the most unique guitar tones I've heard. Um, I will
I
say
actually I think Zach's one of the best, probably one of the best rock vocalists in my opinion.
good, yeah. Moving on to 13, I had to put an album by them on here. I'm assuming no one else did. You don't need to tell me. Actually, I know no one else did just because it's too obvious. I was debating whether or not to put the one from 91 or 93, and I went with the 93 because it's honestly a little more consistent, and it doesn't have Polly, so this is In Utero by Nirvana. So this album is actually pretty consistent. I wouldn't say I love a whole lot of the songs off of here, but I would say there's a couple that I'd say are great, and most of the rest is good. I don't dislike anything off of here, which is kind of what separates it from Nevermind to me, which I really don't like Polly. I never will. I just don't
Oh
see
no,
the
that
hype.
song's terrible.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And
It's
pretty
not
much
terrible, but it's just mid.
And
this
Drain
album
You.
is more like
Drain
a
You is pretty bad, I will say.
yeah.
Territorial
This
Pissings I
album is
can't
a little
stand.
more like heavy and like punk, and like the Nevermind is kind of just like either screamo in your face, not like screamo music, but like just screaming
Yeah.
in your face, where it's like
True.
very like like that, like two modes, which I'm not a huge fan of either. But I do like the top songs of Nevermind better. But ultimately, because of consistency, decided to go with this one.
Yeah, In Utero is much better, I agree.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay, so coming in at number 13, I kind of want to move this up, but it's one of those albums where I love this album, but I can't move it up anymore just because I love the albums above it just a little bit more. It is Native Tongue by Poison from 1993. This is their album that doesn't really get any love because they have a blues guitarist, and it's very, very different and bluesy, and it doesn't sound like Poison.
Wouldn't
Good.
that make it?
I feel like okay, I haven't listened to it, but pause. I feel like that would actually kind of fit. Like that blues guitar is great. That
No,
sounds
it
pretty cool.
works really well, which is why I wanted to put it up, and it's why I like it over their popular 80s albums. Because I feel like the guitarist, his name is Richie Kotzen. He was in some sort of band or whatever.
Oh, I
He's
think I
really
know him.
Yeah, I've heard that name. I don't know anything he's done, but I know that name.
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, great album. I don't like the album cover is weird. It kind of creeps me out. But favorites are Stand, Stay Alive, Until You Suffer Some, Ride Child Ride, and Theater of the Soul. Really good album.
Hmm.
And I don't think there's any songs about sex, which is kind of weird for Poison. But
That's
That is weird
surprising.
for a metal band in general, but yeah,
Good point.
yeah,
right.
we got body talk. Never mind. All right, moving on.
Yeah. All right. Number 13. So I have No Prayer for the Dying by Iron Maiden. So this album, it gets too much hate, honestly. It's pretty good. So I will say top songs aren't as good as Fear of the Dark, but it's just as consistent as that, honestly. The lyrics are really just mid, but like of course Bruce's vocals are great and instrumentals are really good. It's kind of like the style of like their two previous albums with like less synth, but like still kind of similar to that. So like the instrumentals really make up for like the mid lyrics. And my favorites are Holy Smoke, Tail Gunner, and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter.
Nice. Also, I don't think the lyrics are that bad.
They're
Like the
not
Paul
bad. They're
Di'Anno
just
era had
that's true.
significantly worse lyrics.
It's a fun.
I still
Yeah.
I like it a lot though. I mean, definitely not my favorite, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Not as bad as people think it is, and it's honestly better than Fear of the Dark. Fight me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Anyways, I have the Fourth Crusade by Bolt Thrower. This is the first death metal band or album on my list, and trust me, it will not be the last.
Yeah, we know.
But anyways, this is I guess more well, usually death metal is like very like fast and aggressive. This is more like I kind of want to say doom-y. Like I get more like a bit slowed down with like big riffs and obviously still as aggressive. And yeah, my favorite tracks are probably the title track, Icon, and Where to Conquer Next.
All right. Coming in at number 12, I can already tell that nobody's going to like this pick here, but more so like not even here, but just like people that are watching. But like coming in from 1991, that doesn't really give anything away at all because like that was probably the best or was the best year of the 90s.
True.
But this is hate me, I know, the Black Album by Metallica. I had to put this
Go
here
out.
because yeah, well, with like that
Better
one
than Load.
Obviously.
well, it's really better than anything else they did in the decade for starters. It's
True.
the album that got me into the genre, so I had to pay some respect to it. Yeah, obviously the reason I don't know how to put this, but obviously it's kind of a sellout album in some regards, and that's part of the reason it gets you into metal. It's like your starter drug, but it's a good drug if you like. Yeah, this album is a good drug, but that doesn't make it elite. It's not an elite album, but it's pretty consistent. Still not a huge fan of, Nothing Else Matters. That doesn't even count as metal. Fight me.
True.
But the rest of
Whole
the
album
album is
doesn't.
a lot of the deep cuts on here, and then also Sad But True and Enter Sandman are like that's pretty good stuff.
Nice. I actually really like the album besides Enter Sandman and Nothing Else Matters.
I
Sad
still
But
like it.
True and all the deep cuts are very good though.
Yeah, that's what I was.
I just think those two songs are just Enter Sandman's just like a boring rock song, and then Sad But True is just about a ballad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to guess what my number 12 is?
I have no idea.
Same as mine.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
number 12, the Black Album,
Nice.
also known as
Hmm.
We already had two albums at the same spot, and we're only.
Yeah.
So anyway, this has gone all over my list. It's been all different spots, but I settled on number 12. From 1991, huge album. I heard it was like after Dark Side of the Moon, it's been on the Billboard charts more than any other album, like second most something. So impressive. Favorites on this one are Sad But True, The God That Failed. I really do like Nothing Else Matters. It's not that high, but I do like it a lot more than you guys do. Really, it's a really solid album. I don't like A Wolf and Man. I could do without that song. Through the Never, I don't really care for. I love Wherever I May Roam. That's another one, but fantastic album and maybe a little bit of a sellout album, but it's still great nonetheless. And yes, better than anything else they did in the 90s.
Yes,
far.
agreed. Better than
True.
anything else they've done after that album too.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Maybe. Yeah.
Just like it gets
Better than Death Magnetic and Hardwired.
Mhm.
Definitely better than Lulu and Saint Anger.
True. I actually do really like Death Magnetic and Hardwired, but it's still
I
Black
do
Album's
too.
still better though.
And that's the thing. That's the reason the Black Album gets hated is because like it was technically after their 80s period, but like it still stacks up to that period, but it doesn't stack up to their after period. And by that I mean it's superior to everything they did after that album.
Even Lulu?
Yes.
What?
I'm just kidding.
So, number 12, I have Crazy World by Scorpions from 1990. So, the most well-known song on this is obviously Wind of Change, but most of the songs on here I'd say are great. There's some great ballads, but also some great rockers like Wind of Change, Send Me an Angel, and then like great rockers, Tease Me, Please Me, Kicks After Six, Hit Between the Eyes, and then favorites, Wind of Change, just a great song, Don't Believe Her, and Tease Me, Please Me.
Nice.
Nice.
All right.
I have Pierce from Within by Suffocation. I know, lovely name. More death metal, I know. Well, actually, this is brutal death metal, whatever. Anyways, this is brutal. The riffs are amazing. The vocals are actually pretty good for death metal. It's just the breakdowns are insane. It's definitely something you want to headbang to. Obviously, the best song is Pierce from Within, the title track, but Thrones of Blood is very good too. The Invoking is pretty good. Bringing the Spawn's pretty good. Yeah, the whole album's pretty good. The riffs are insane.
Nice. All right. I was just gonna make a comment on Crazy World because for whatever reason I associate that like later period Scorpions I associate kind of similar to another band like later period Aerosmith because like they just started doing ballads. However, while I'm not a huge fan of like hard rock bands doing ballads because I just don't think the style generally, in general, works as well. I will say Scorpions do it a lot better than Aerosmith. Aerosmith ballads are unbearably cringe and annoying,
True.
honestly. But I still think Winter Change is a great song. Like it's done
Yeah,
pretty
it's a
well. So I
classic.
can't hate on exactly. But like
Because
Angel and I Don't Want to Miss a Thing are just
about historical
annoying.
events.
Agreed, though.
All right, so coming in from 1990, I know this didn't make anyone else's list, but you may or may not know it. So this is "Shake Your Money Maker" by Black Crowes. This is the only album from them
Oh,
that made. I don't like a lot of their other stuff as much, I would say, but this album is pretty consistent and good. It definitely has its own sound. It's, you know, they're not copying from anyone else in the period, but also that might be because like one of the first albums of the 90s, it was first year. So overall, pretty consistent. There's nothing I don't like. It has that one big hit. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's like later into the album, but yeah, which is like their only hit actually. I'm pretty sure. But overall, it's a pretty consistent album. I didn't know if it was going to make my list or not, but it ended up making it a bit higher than I thought it might. So cool.
nice.
That album was close to making my list, actually. I really like that album, but didn't quite do it, so.
Other stuff isn't as good, but it's still good. Like their other stuff is good, just not as good as that album is.
Yeah,
in my
no,
opinion.
that's, I get that. So anyway, for me, coming in at number 11, I have, from 1992, I have Dirt by Alice in Chains. Great album. Some of my favorites on this one are Them Bones, Damn That River, Rooster might be my favorite Alice in Chains song. Wood, it's Angry Chair, really just a fantastic album. It's awesome. One of maybe the best of 1992. One of the best for sure.
I think it's my highest rated from that year. I'd have to look again, but yeah,
It might be from mine, but I'm not entirely sure.
yeah.
Agreed. I
Yeah.
love that album. Okay, this is kind of a spoiler, but it's probably my like top 7. It's my like number 7 album of all time. So
Wow,
Damn, it must be pretty high on this list then, at least.
it's not number 1.
it's
Well,
fantastic.
no. This
It
is
is amazing. Yeah, I love that album.
that mine. It comes in a lot higher than where you had it, Mariah. So that's something I
I,
will say.
Didn't quite make my
but
list.
hey,
Well, I know, Christoph, you already got to the one
I know.
from the.
it
So
made it
so
higher than I was expecting. But that track list is just so good.
Agreed. There's not a single like filler track, except maybe Untitled, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
but I mean, 40 seconds, so I don't
yeah,
count.
It's
that's
more
what
like
yeah.
it's more like an interlude kind of like those short songs they just throw in there for no reason. Some bands.
it's kind of
Yeah.
meant just to be like for album listens. Like you're not going to cue that up
Exactly.
or like listen to. You're not going to
However, I
push.
do have one criticism for Dirt. They stole the name Godsmack from the band. How
Bruh.
dare they?
Stop. Okay.
Okay.
And then Christoph, I think you're next, right?
Yeah. Okay, so number 11, speaking of the last pick before, I have the Black Album by Metallica. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, it's a pretty good album. Not as good as like any of their 80s albums, I would say, but mostly pretty good songs. Like it's yeah, it's just pretty good. My favorites, Call Me Poser, Call Me Basic, but Enter Sandman, I still really like that song.
Poser, basic.
No, if
Yeah.
he was actually, he'd say Nothing Else Matters and Enter Sandman are the best
Oh,
two songs. Which
no. And then also Holier Than Thou, I like that one a lot. And my least favorite,
Yes.
Nothing Else Matters. I really just do not like that song. It's not
I think
terrible, but it's also, I really just, I don't know. It's not for me. Just boring.
I love it, but
W.
Like,
none of you agree with me, so
yeah,
that's fine.
I understand the appeal, kind of, but like, no,
a
I really
little
don't
bit.
like
I
it.
don't like that at all.
Yeah, but,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
I'm yet, and there's a lot of good memories for me attached to it. So,
Good if
Yeah,
it comes on,
understandable.
but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Nice.
Wolfman Man first, though.
And Nick,
Nice. I have Order of the Soul by At the Gates. This is probably the most important album in Megadeth. Yeah, the whole album is both aggressive and kind of like melodic. I don't know. It's just like a good time album. I love it. My favorite songs are probably Blinded by Fear, Slaughter of the Soul, and Cold. And yeah, The riffs are awesome. This is just a classic and a must listen for any fan of extreme metal. Although,
Nice.
if you're a fan of extreme metal, you've probably heard this already.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
All right. Yeah, so far pretty good. So first album to make the top 10. I guess we'll start off with me at number 10. So again, well, I guess we'll stick in the same year. So from 1990, I debated whether to put this or Vulgar Display. That kind of gives it away, but I went with Cowboys from Hell by Pantera. I'm pretty sure this was the highest one that is technically classified as metal, although I will say some of the albums later up on the list kind of do have like a metal-ish sound, but this is technically the one that can clearly be classified as metal. So Cowboy Song was great. I mean, Cemetery Gates is definitely one of my favorite metal songs, I would say, but there's also a lot of other great tracks on here. Like I said, I was debating whether or not to put this or Vulgar, but I edged this one out just a little bit for me. I think that this is a really good album. Definitely a good transition between this and their 80s period. They did it pretty flawlessly, especially because their 80s period pretty much sucks. Wasn't really a whole lot of good stuff in that period. I don't want to be rude if you like it, but like, not even on my
It's hair
favorite,
metal.
and that's probably for a good reason. So, yeah, this album made it here. It's a great album. Can't say anything bad about it.
Nope.
Nice. That's
agree with
my second favorite Pantera album. I like Cowboys from Hell and I like Vulgar. I don't care about the rest of the discography. But yeah, those two albums are very good.
Nice. Coming in at number 10 for me, I have, is it from 90? I think it's from 92, which means that Dirt is not my most highly rated from that year. It's Keep the Faith
Nice,
by
nice.
which is either it is from 92. It's either my second or my third favorite. I can never really decide between the top three. They could go in any order. My favorites are title track, Bed of Roses, If I Was Your Mother, Dry County, Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll, and a little bit of soul. There's not a single bad track on this.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. They didn't make this list, and they didn't make my 80s list. And if they were gonna make a list, it probably would have been last decade. So it's a little too late, and they're certainly not making my 2000s list because holy shit, do I not like that. But we don't need to get into my opinions on post 90s. But I do like everything that they did from 80s and 90s. But anyway, moving on.
Better than their 80s, even though Slippery and Wet might be their best. I don't know.
Okay, so number 10, speaking of, same album, Keep the Faith by Bon Jovi. I really like this album. It's really good. It's fun to listen to. The rockers are great. The ballads are pretty good. And my favorites are In These Arms, Keep the Faith, and Blame It on the Love of Rock and Roll.
Awesome. I'm having
Nice.
in common with people lately.
Nice. From 1990, I have Painkiller by Judas Priest.
Awesome.
My favorite Judas Priest album, which is definitely a very high bar. Because, anyways, favorite song, obviously Painkiller, duh. Hell Patrol's very good. All Guns Blazing, Nightcrawler, Touch of Evil. The whole album is just, it's definitely different from their early stuff. It's more aggressive. I wouldn't say thrashy, but it's like Iron Maiden, but a bit faster and more aggressive. But yeah, it's awesome. This album does not have a single bad song, and Painkiller is one of my favorite songs of all time. Yeah, flawless album.
Painkiller.
Yeah,
It's
I
best
guess you
metal.
could say it. Okay, so first one, single digits, number 9. This may be a shock, and I actually do prefer this to a lot of the albums by this band. And it's not even in their peak period. I just think this one stands out and triumphs actually their entire 80s discography, which I'm sure a lot of people would love to disagree with me. So from 1995, this is Night and Day Big Band by Chicago. I think it beats every album they did in the 80s. Their 80s, their 70s, their late 60s stuff, and all their 70s stuff is really great, I think. But their 80s stuff is like some of it's good, but some of it's just very bland and boring and really uninteresting because there's less like of that guitar. And I don't have to explain to you why that is, but like this brings back like it feels like just like literally the title is what this album sounds like, big band. Like it feels like there's so many like different instruments here and like people playing on this album, and it's like very fun and epic. And definitely nothing else on my list sounds like this. A lot of my list is like heavier stuff, and this is like it's rock, but like there's also like elements of like a lot of other genres. So this is probably like one of my favorite albums by them, which is an unpopular opinion, but I mean, I like everything here. The title track is phenomenal to me. So yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. I know no one is going to have my number 9 because we've kind of already established this. Coming in at number 9, we have Superunknown by Soundgarden. I wanted this to be a lot higher. It didn't end up being higher. Some of my favorite on this one is The Day I Tried to Live. I also love My Wave. Fell on Black Days is probably my second favorite. Limo Wreck, Fresh Tendrils, Black Hole Sun. Really, there's not a single bad track on here. It is all killer, no filler. It is a fantastic album for sure.
For
Really,
half it's a skip.
what is?
Half. It's like a minute long and it's just like instruments. I'd say
Oh,
that's like
yeah, I forgot about that.
stuff.
The rest of
Yeah.
it is skip. And that one's
Also,
not.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the fact that you said that no one else had this on their list because
No,
you're
no,
talking to like
no one has it at this spot, is what I meant.
mine's obviously higher than this, but yeah.
Yeah, mine. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
make my list, but it was close.
Yeah.
Yours.
No.
It was close to mine too.
Okay, so number 9, second Iron Maiden album on this list, Fear of the Dark. So not one of their best albums, but like it's still solid. A lot of songs on here are just like decent or good, but like there's still some great songs. Favorites, of course, the title track "Fear the Dark" is a masterpiece. Such a great song, I just love it. And then "Be Quick or Be Dead" is also really good. Has some really like energetic drumming. And then my least favorite, "Weekend Warrior," is just like really cringy and repetitive. I don't like that song. But yeah.
All right, nice.
Agreed though.
Yeah, agreed, but yeah.
Anyways, my number 9. Well, I had a bunch of death metal, so you know what's missing? Black metal. And number 9. Well, I guess melodic black metal if you want to be specific. I have Storm Bane by Dissection. I guess you could argue it's death metal, but no. So my favorite songs are probably Night's by Retribution. How I would describe it would be, I guess evil and like cold. It's more atmospheric than death metal, which is why I wouldn't consider it death metal. But it definitely has some melody to it, and yeah, it just sounds, I guess, grim and dark while still being aggressive and that. I really don't know how to describe it. It's a great album.
Nice.
The album cover is sick too.
Nice, yeah. Okay, so I guess that wraps up number 9. So coming in for my number 8 spot from 1991, pretty sure it's the year I had the most from, but that wouldn't be that surprising. However, I will say, if I did make an honorable mentions list, which I'll admit in advance I did not, most of the honorable mentions would be from that year because there's so much good from that year that probably could have made it. So for 1991, this is Blood Sugar Sex Magic. This is the number 1 album by them for this decade for me that made it on this list. My favorite by them is in a different decade yet to come. So no spoilers on that. But this is great. It's 17 tracks and it doesn't have like really that many weak ones, if any. I don't think. You
Stuff
can't
My
always.
Kisses I don't like.
Well, that's fair, but like a lot of people wouldn't agree since that's a hit. I will say, "Give It Away" is a much better song than "Suck My Kiss."
Yes,
Just for the
Give
riff
It Away
alone.
is awesome.
Especially if you play guitar, you know that's a better song. And yeah, just by riff.
There's a couple I don't like on that, but it's mostly pretty great.
Well, it's because it repeats the same thing, but like the riff is phenomenal in my opinion.
I agree.
Under the Bridge is a classic. It never gets old. It's one of the rock songs on the radio that is very bearable still, and honestly still pretty great. The deep cuts on here are pretty fantastic too. It's more of that funk style, but they do it in their own way. They do it uniquely. They don't just like copy other funk groups or artists. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Pretty consistent album with a lot of great and good songs here, so that's why it comes in at 8 for me.
Nice. That's a
For me
good one.
personally, for like that funk rock style, I have to prefer Faith No More, which is definitely gonna get me a lot of people who hate me for that, but it's still great.
I like them as much as RHCP, but I like them quite a bit.
I mean, like the Angel Dust era. Angel Dust is my favorite It's not on.
Yeah.
It's on my list, but
Oh,
yeah,
I love that album.
same.
All right,
Uh,
moving on.
yeah, coming in at number 8 for me, this band doesn't have a perfect album to me, kind of like Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, they
So I
don't.
put them coming in at that is Flesh and Blood by Poison from 1990.
Nice.
Great album. It has my all-time favorite Poison song, Something to Believe in. Other favorites include Life Loves a Tragedy, Ride the Wind, Come Hell and High Water, Life Goes On, Let It Play, Valley of Lost Souls. Fantastic album. There's some instrumental ones I don't care for, and there's probably a song or two I don't like, but it is like 17 tracks, so they
Damn.
did a bit. But overall, fantastic album. Tons of memories attached. So my favorite Poison album.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so number 8, Painkiller by Judas Priest. This is just a really great album. So energetic, and like their riffs and the vocals are amazing. Just like, yeah, just so good. Pretty much all the songs are great. My favorite Judas Priest album too, and my favorites are of course Painkiller, the title track. Got to saw this in concert and it was amazing.
Nice.
And then Hell Patrol, Metal Meltdown, and One Shot at Glory. It's just such a great album.
Yeah, I love that album. Didn't make
Same.
my
Didn't
list.
make
Nice.
my list. Spoiler alert, but it's a great album.
Yeah, the album was amazing. Probably Halford's best vocals in my opinion.
Agreed.
Anyways, I have Left Hand Path Entombed. This is like a death metal staple. Not even just death metal, just Swedish metal staple. Anyway, obviously the title track is one of the biggest extreme metal songs of all time. And yeah, the guitar tone is awesome. Like the whole death metal like buzzsaw guitar tone pretty much originated with this album, and pretty much almost every band tried to copy this sound. But yeah, I like this because it has a lot of the classic death metal stuff, but it also has a bit of melody to it, but it's not entirely just mellow death. It's just still death metal. And yeah, my favorite songs are the title track, Drowned, and Revel in Flesh.
Coming in at number 7, my second highest rated album from this year from 1992. This is Core by Stone Temple Pilots. Not as huge of a fan of them as I am, say, like Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. I actually do like them more than Nirvana, which will probably get a lot of their fan base hurt. I know, but like they have a lot
What?
more albums.
Nirvana's fan base getting mad?
Oh, yeah,
No.
yeah, who would have thought? This album is great. I also could have went with Purple here, of course, because that album is really great too. But Dead and Bloated is a great song. Creep is a great song. I like it more than the Radiohead one. Kill me, I guess.
Agreed.
Good. Yeah, dude, Radiohead is boring.
Yep.
I wouldn't say they're boring. I would just say Pablo
wouldn't
Honey is
say
a
that.
bad album.
Fan base is kind of annoying, not gonna lie, but
Oh, I've seen that.
Piece of Pie's pretty good. The last track, really good. A great way to end the album. It's pretty long. Of the song, and also the classic hit. This is cliche, but it is my favorite. Plus, I mean, just an iconic song really captures
Yes.
it. I mean, that song can go on repeat. It did. I had a face with that song. Probably do if I played it again. So, great album. Yeah, it could have been higher, but there's 6 phenomenal albums that could probably go in any order coming up. So, yeah.
Nice. Agreed. Plush is a masterpiece of a song.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in the video earlier that I wanted Core to make my list so bad, and it almost made it in, but it just
Yeah.
missed. I don't know it that well, so maybe if I get to know it better, it would make it. But I absolutely love Dead and Bloated and all those songs.
Yeah.
Anyway, for me, coming in at number 7, yeah, number 7. This is an album I heard for the first time fairly recently, so it was a shock when it made it on my list, but it kind of blew me away as being an absolute amazing album. So coming in at 1990 is Temple of the Dog by Temple of the Dog.
Yes. Go.
Fantastic album. It's just all the songs are amazing on here. I think my favorites are Say Hello to Heaven might be my favorite one. I don't know. I absolutely love that. Call Me a Dog, Hunger Strike, Reach Down, Times of Trouble, All Night Thing. Really just an amazing album that is so awesome. Again, weird album cover, but an amazing album. The vocals are insanely good on this.
Well, it's
Yeah,
Chris.
Chris in his prime, 1990s, like about as early as you can get from
Almost
him.
made it onto mine, but didn't quite.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's so many great albums from the 90s. I feel bad about all the albums that had to be left off, so.
Yeah.
Same, honestly.
Only having to pick 15, it's tough.
So
Like
many-
my
there's so
original
many
list, I had
honorable
like so much more
mentions.
than 15. That just they couldn't all make it. It's unfortunate.
Oh, same. I started off like 40 for my
Same, literally.
configuration.
I
Yeah.
started off with like 50, and then I was just like, oh well,
It's tough,
I guess I'll do that.
Yeah, I started off with a ton.
And I mean,
Yeah.
like 40 different bands also. Just
Yeah, making this list definitely realized that I like this decade a lot more than I thought, especially because some of these albums, like especially my top 6, I can listen to on repeat and just like put on anytime. So
yeah, I really like. The 90s is probably my favorite decade, and here's why. Yes, it has some very low lows, but it also has probably the highest highs of any decade.
If
By low lows, I mean new metal.
yeah, no,
Also,
for
That's fair.
if the 90s had lived up to the promise of 90 through 92 and 94, it would be my favorite music decade. Unfortunately, the rest of it didn't. So.
like
Well, for
even-
me, I
even,
like the whole decade. I just
still pretty
don't like
solid
some
and-
of the genres that became popular.
Oh yeah, there's
1990
stuff that got big.
1997 and
Oh, boy
1998.
bands. Oh,
Oh yeah, boy bands.
Yeah, that came up. I forgot about that because they're so irrelevant now. But yeah,
Okay, so number 7, I just
Right.
realized this is actually the only album on my list that's from the second half of the 90s, so that's interesting. It's all the other albums are from the first half. That just shows how much better it is. But anyways, also
Okay.
this, I guarantee I'm the only one who has this um on their list. But so I have Empires by Jimi Jamison. So the
Yeah.
second solo album from Survivor. It's really consistent. I love the vocals and the piano's amazing too. And my favorites are I'm Always Here, Cry Tough, First Day of Love. And also this one like barely counts as a 90s album because it came out in like October 1999. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, it still counts because it released
Yeah.
during the 90s.
Yeah.
Californication might be my only late 90s. I don't know.
yeah, agreed. And
Nice.
like you said, yeah, you're right. You're the only one that put
Yeah.
that
I
on
really
there.
love this album though.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Number 7, I have Symbolic by Death. I know, great band name. This is when they fully shifted from like death metal to prog metal, and this is awesome. I could have went with some of their other death metal stuff, but their prog era is very good. This encapsulates everything good with their prog era. It's got the transitions and time signatures are very interesting on this album, and the vocal style is way different from before. And the riffs just are amazing. The lyrics are actually like philosophical on this and their album after that, which is very different from something like Scream Bloody Gore.
Yeah.
But yeah, my favorite songs are Symbolic and Crystal Mountain. And yeah, this album's amazing.
So getting down that just missed our top 5. This is number 6. So this album is my second favorite by the band. It's from 1991. I only put one album by them here because if I put 2, I would feel like I just couldn't do that. Like just something about that mentally wouldn't sit right with me. And also like I don't know because like I definitely like 2 more than 1, especially because I've liked this band a lot more than a lot of the other bands on this list and just in general. So like I've gotten time to like know the difference between the 2. And with that being said, this is Use Your Illusion 2 from Guns N' Roses.
Nice.
For me, it's different than 1. And okay, it's not more consistent. It's just like the consistency among the top songs, and then also the consistency minus My World, which is a garbage song, and I don't even know why that was recorded in the first place. It's like bugs being recorded.
You want to step into my world?
I don't want to hear it.
It's basically just new metal. Continue.
Great songs, Civil War, great song. Knocking on Heaven's Door is great cover. Yesterday's. What else we got? Get in the Ring's pretty cool. Locomotive. Estranged is a masterpiece. So Fine is very underrated in my opinion. Love that song. You Could Be Mine's pretty cool. The last two tracks are just weird and unquestionable. You have Don't Cry. It's like, why do you need to add this in again to an album? Were you that starved for content that you had to do that? And I know they changed the lyrics up a little bit, but like, fuck that shit. And then 14, like, shouldn't even be on the album at all. You can kind of debate with track 13, but like, My World is just garbage. There's no other way around it. 13 is still a good song. It's just not necessary. So 13 great songs and one dog shit song. So that's why if it didn't include that song, it might have gotten to the 5th spot. But still a great.
For me, coming in at number 6, I have, and I hate that they made this the title, but whatever. And from 1990, again, Cherry Pie by Warrant. I don't like the title track that much. I'll get it out of the way.
Agreed.
But other than that, it is really a fantastic album. Uncle Tom's Cabin, I Saw Red, Bed of Roses, Blind Faith, Song and Dance Man, You're the Only Hell Your Mama Ever Raised, Mr. Rainmaker, Train, all absolutely fantastic albums. I just wish they had Cherry Pie in a napkin and put it on this because it hurts the album. Fantastic album. Anyway. I already saw your faces anyway, so.
No,
yeah.
I actually don't mind the rest of the album. I just despise the title track with.
That's why
that part where my body hates the title track. But the rest of the album's fine.
Yeah.
That song literally makes people hate the entire genre.
Was the label? It was label pressure. But anyway, I love
that
the album.
That song literally makes people hate the entire genre, so that should tell you enough on how bad the song is.
Yeah, but the rest of the album is actually pretty good. I listened to it. I just cannot stand the title.
That one song is pretty terrible.
Yeah, but nice, good pick.
Okay, Christophe.
Nice. So, okay, number 6. Really love this album. I have Walk On by Boston. This is a very underrated melodic rock album. The vocals are great, and actually, like the first time I listened to this, I thought it was Brad Delp, but it's actually Fran Cosmo. But he does a really good job with like a similar vocal style, but like it's not exactly copying, but he still sounds really good in his own way. Of course, guitar super melodic and great. Organ also great. You know, that's Boston for you. Just really smooth sounding. It's great production. And then my favorites are Surrender to Me, absolute like amazing song. And then Walk On, also I Need Your Love. It's a really good album.
Nice. I do have that album on a couple playlists overall, and also it is pretty good. Not as good as their other 3, of course. Boston is like the only band that I know that got progressively worse over time with each album. However, I will say there's no way in hell this would have even come close to making my list. But that's just because I do think it's a massive step down from the first 3, but I do like the album. It's definitely underrated. Like, it never gets talked about by anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, I have One Cent from the Golden Hall by Amon Amarth. This is just an incredibly fun album, just like everything almost everything Amon Amarth's released. Yeah. Also, no, Viking metal is not a thing for people who try to make that into a genre. Just because bands talk about Viking stuff does not make it a genre. That being said, this album is amazing. Very energy, catchy, melodic, as well as being kind of aggressive also, because, it's metal.
Nice.
Yeah, my favorite songs are probably Victorious March and Abandoned. This is still not peak Amon Amarth. This is like very early in their career. In the 2000s, they definitely stepped up their game, but this is definitely still a great album.
Nice.
Also, yes, people actually consider Viking metal a genre. It's literally just metal that uses Viking imagery.
Nick, isn't there a thing called pirate metal that shouldn't
let
you know how
stupid
oh
term.
My God.
It's just folk metal
funny.
talking about pirate stuff.
Thing, okay. That's weird.
That's fun.
I'm not even gonna explain why humanity.
Yeah, I know.
Right there. Okay. So this is gonna be a fun list for some people that really love this genre, and it's gonna be a really bad and boring rest of my list for the people that don't. So that all of these are from the same genre, but they're not all from the same band. So you're welcome. So number 5 from 1994. This might actually surprise people because the longest time I've said Superunknown is better, but I think I have to change my point of view because of consistency. And also Bad Motorfinger is amazing, but both are, honestly. But Superunknown from Soundgarden comes in here at 5. It's still a really great track list, not a ton worse than Bad Motorfinger. I just think Bad Motorfinger is slightly better, but they're pretty close. Let Me Drown is a great opener. My Wave is pretty cool. Film Black Days is like one of my favorite grunge songs in general. Mailman and Superunknown title track are pretty cool as well. Head Down is a great song. And then, obviously the hit Black Hole Sun, Spoon Man kind of a hit as well. Pretty good. Limo Wreck is really underrated. So is The Day I Tried to Live. And then you got Kickstand, kind of like a punk metal thing that they might have done earlier in their career, but they did it here and it still sounds cool. And then the last track, which I'm not going to say the name of, has a great guitar solo. So you can look that up for yourself. But overall, it's a pretty great album. The only song that's not really worth coming back to, and I would really only listen to because in like the context of a full album, is like Half. It's literally called Half. Probably because it's half of the average song length. But
Yeah, Fell on Black Day is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Bass. Okay.
Nice. For me, coming in at number 5, we have These Days by Bon Jovi from 1995. So I don't know if that counts as later 90s, but
mid-90s.
Yeah, mid-90s. I don't know, whatever. It's got a top 3 Bon Jovi song for me in Hey God, which is extremely underrated. These Days title track, Lie to Me, Something for the Pain, This Ain't a Love Song. If That's What It Takes. Just really fantastic album, and it could be my favorite Bon Jovi album. It could be my third favorite Bon Jovi album, depending on the day, but it's an amazing album for sure. So really cool and different for Bon Jovi.
Nice, yeah.
Nice.
It is a bit of a different style. I like it, but it's not one of my favorite Bon Jovi albums, but still good.
That one was kind of close to my list, but not like super close. I like that album, but yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. There's so many competitors to make it on the list.
Oh,
So
like that's these decades, like too many competitors. So obviously only 15 can make it. Just trying to choose the ones I think are best / I like most, kind of that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
I totally.
Okay.
Okay,
So
moving on from.
yeah, number 5, I have Dookie by Green Day. So this is one of my favorite punk albums. I love this album. It's very consistent, and I love all the songs minus the last one. So yeah, my favorites are Basket Case. This song has like really grown on me recently. I was listening to it a ton. And then When I Come Around, and then She, and then my least favorite is easily the last track, All by Myself. I don't know why it's on this album. It's boring, repetitive, and short, and I do not understand why it exists, but yeah, I love all the songs minus the last one. So.
For me, it's Longview that I don't like. The lyrics are just really weird in Longview. But anyway,
It's not one of my favorites, but I still like it. I just don't like the last one.
I respect both of your opinions, but for me, it's the album I don't like. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know you don't like Green Day, so that's fine.
Yeah, She is probably my favorite song from the album.
Nice. It's my third favorite.
Objectively, it is great, but subjectively,
I don't care about objective personally. Like I just love it, but you know.
Objectively, even I admit it's great.
Objective doesn't even matter, honestly.
Yeah.
It's our opinion.
Yeah. Also,
it's not fact-based, opinion-based.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Also,
fact-based would just be using shitty pop albums.
Also, I used to prefer American Idiot, but like I listened to this one more, and then I realized it's definitely more consistent. But like
I prefer American Idiot.
American Idiot is my second. I did re-listen to that lately, and it was better than I expected. But that's
like I equally hate both, but I would say Dookie I hate a little less, so I'd probably go with that.
All right. Okay.
Anyways. Nice. This is the only band I have 2 albums from. Spoiler alert. None of them got mentioned yet, so this is the first one. I have My Arms, Your Hearse by Opeth. So yeah, spoiler alert, I'm kind of an Opeth fanboy, my favorite band of all time. So it's very hard for me to say negative things. Okay, all jokes aside, this album is one of their best. Okay, it's like number 7 for them, but it's very good. I don't think it has any skips. This is a concept album. Concepts, I don't feel like getting it's just complicated. I don't even know what it means. Like, anyways, My favorite songs are probably April Ethereal, When, The Amen Corner, Demon of the Fallen Karma. But anyways, this album, this is definitely in their early era, but before they became more prog-ish. It's like a blend of their early stuff and their prog stuff. It's amazing. My only complaint is the production could be improved a bit, but yeah, the riffs are awesome. It's kind of I guess, depressing kind of atmosphere, but it also has a lot of like I guess energetic moments also. It's very good. I love this album. I love Opeth. Great album.
Nice. Yeah, they're
Not
definitely
my fault.
gotten into recently, so pretty good. Okay, so moving on to the fourth spot, and before we get here, I was just gonna say, like, actually, nah, I'll just save it for later. So if if the album does get mentioned, which I don't think it deserves to get mentioned, and I don't expect it to, but if it does, it's only because like I don't know. We'll see. I'm just interested to hear because it hasn't been mentioned. I know it won't by 3 people, but one person might mention it because there's a chance. Okay, so moving on. From 1992, I have Dirt, which already got mentioned.
Yep.
Lots of great songs. Definitely one of the best combos of opening and closing.
Mhm.
Again, a great way to open an album. Wood has been on repeat because, I mean, it's Wood.
I approve.
Yes. And
Yep.
the only really skip here is Untitled, which works well in the context of an album, but it doesn't work well alone. So
Agreed.
don't really understand why it's on here. But I mean, if you want to listen to it in the context of an album, it's fine. The rest of the songs here are great, with some of my favorite songs in the genre, and also one of my favorite songs of all time, which right now is Wood.
Nice.
Nice. So for me, from 1994, an album none of you will have on here, and I don't even know if any of you ever heard it. I have Going Public by Newsboys.
I've heard of it and I've listened to it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, this was actually, fun fact, the first album I ever bought with my own money. So it kind of holds a
Cool.
special place there. It's really, there isn't a bad track on here. I think the last track, LG, is my favorite. It's my second most listened to all-time song on Spotify. Truth and Consequences, Let It Rain, Shine, Lights Out. Just a fantastic album from start to finish, and probably my favorite album of theirs.
Nice.
So Christoph, interested to hear what you have here. We're getting pretty up there now, so
Yep.
gotta
Okay.
say.
So my number 4, I don't know. So I have Trial by Fire by Journey. Is that?
It's the album that I would say I know no one else will have it, but I bet you will because you're like
That's what I
fanboy.
figured. I mean, okay. So let me explain. So I will admit it's not super consistent, but it's
I
Journey.
believe you sucks balls.
Well, I'll get to that. So it's not super consistent, but it's Journey, so I felt that it had to be on my list. Plus, it has some songs I really, really love. So obviously, it's not as good as Journey's 80s albums or late 70s albums. That's of course, but it's kind
Even
of
later.
yeah. But like, it's more like toned down than like their 80s albums. Like his vocals they can't like go as high anymore, but it's like they're still great, of course. And it's like it's pretty atmospheric too, and it's like if you're in the right mood for it, it can be great, but like if you're not, they can just be kind of boring. But like it also does have some like energetic, great rocker songs and some great ballads, but also a few songs that are just like boring, and then the trash, terrible song "Baby I'm a Leaving You," which is Journey attempting to do reggae, but they cannot do that. Please do not ever do that again, okay? It's just bad.
They do
So,
a
One of the
lot of
songs of all time for sure.
Yeah,
they
so
do a lot of styles within the rock genre in the general scheme of things pretty well overall, but like they should never have attempted that. And thankfully they learned their lesson because they've never attempted it since.
exactly.
So
Still
Yeah.
better. I can't
again.
actually no, it's not better than Back Talk. Never mind. That was
Yeah, and then
never mind.
my favorites
wait,
are
Backtalk is much better because that at least has
yeah,
It has a
rhythm.
good riff. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
it does.
So yeah, my favorites are "When You Love a Woman," just a classic, great ballad. The piano and orchestra, I love that. And then "Forever in
Better than the
Blue"
Michael
and "Message
Bolton.
of Love." It's just yeah,
Right.
Nice, I agree with all
I did like that album, but it was not going to make my top 15.
yeah. I
that. Also,
love
like
Journey too much, so
I didn't
Yeah,
mention, I'm also gonna say that like Castles Burning is definitely one that grew on me and it's pretty great and it's definitely like a rocker on there as well. Like Yeah,
Yeah.
like you were saying, like it can be pretty good when you're in the mood for it, but it's also kind of boring to me. Like when
Yeah.
I'm not, it also is a lot better than like I remember being if I'm in the mood for it. So overall, it's probably like 12 out of 15 in terms of how much I like it. The only
Nice.
one worse for me being Generations,
Yeah.
Arrival, and Next, but like still, I think it's a pretty good album. Wasn't that close to making my list because yeah, but I respect that. Pretty good album when you're in the mood.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Anyways, at number 4, I have Like You Never Stream by Dismember. Great album. Again, classic Swedish death metal album. I actually like Dismember more than Entombed, which will get some people mad. I don't care. This album is a big reason why. Override the Overture is a great song. The title track, Dismembered, is amazing. Bleed for Me is really good. So is Life is really good. Again, just like most Swedish death metal from that era, it's definitely death metal, don't get me wrong, but it's got a bit more of that melodic edge, and some of the songs definitely like prove that, and it still has all the aggression that you'd want from death metal. It just has more melody, and the riffs are top tier. The guitar tone is amazing. One of my favorite albums ever. So
Nice.
yeah,
All right, top three should be interesting. I could have put these in any order. I'm like asking me tomorrow, and they could change. It's really like a battle of consistency in top songs. I will say the top songs on my next two are better, but this one is like just as consistent as the ones I put at 1 and 2. So second album by the band that I put on here, and my favorite album, which I've decided only just recently because for the longest time I said Superunknown was better, but this Bad Motorfinger, 91.
nice.
This album is hella consistent. Even like the worst songs on here, which may be Face Pollution, is still a great song. Like I can't hate on that song at all because it's just classic, hard heavy grunge songs. And like, you got Rusty Cage Outshine, which has been stuck in my head and is really great. Slaves and Bulldozers is pretty cool. Searching with My Good Eye Closed, hearing the Visit to the Sky and then just like howling and that's part of the reason I like the song a little bit more. You get more of those howling vocals and vocals are a bit better than they are on Superunknown, but
Jesus Christ Post is my favorite song from that album.
yeah,
Me
that
too.
one's also
Love that
great. And
song.
then Somewhere is pretty good. Holy Water. I mean, everything on this album is good. Like
Room a
I can't,
Thousand Years Wide is awesome too.
yeah, I can't remember every song off the top of my head, but I would list all of them if I could. Very consistent. Nothing bad here. Even the worst stuff is still great.
This is like my number 16, so it really almost made it
Wow.
for
Nice.
me.
Yeah.
I adore this
Great.
album. I approve.
Yep.
All right, so for me, coming in at number 3, this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone at all. Use Your Illusion 1 by Guns N'
Nice.
Roses,
Nice.
91.
Nice.
Which means, spoiler, I do have 2 Guns N' Roses in my top 3, but I had to be honest of the ones I like the most, and it is my favorite band, so this shouldn't surprise anybody.
Makes sense.
November Rain is one of my favorite songs ever. I absolutely love Coma and The Garden of Eden, Bad Obsession, Don't Cry is another one of my favorite songs ever. Just
Same.
so many. Live and Let Die, Dust and Bones. Really a fantastic album. The top songs are a little bit less for me overall than Use Your Illusion 2, which is why it ends up here, but it's an amazing album. I'm always in a good mood when I'm listening to this album, so.
Yeah. The reason it didn't make my list is because some of like the deeper cuts, more obscure tracks compared to like the hits, I don't think are as good and they're a little bit more basic, but like not all of them. It's just like a select couple of songs.
I just have
This one was like 16 or 17 on my list when I ended up finishing ranking, so it was close. It could have been there. I just didn't want to put 2 of them by them. Yeah, I just didn't feel that was right for me personally. So I mean, yeah, I don't know.
What you do with your list. I did do that with a couple of bands too, but I had to be honest with what do I listen to the most and what do I like the most. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
the reason they're my favorite band. It's like Journey for you. So
Yeah. Okay, so my number 3's, guess what? That's the same exact album. Use Your Illusion 1, Guns N' Roses. So Both Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 are excellent albums. Spoiler alert, I have Use Your Illusion 2 above it, but
Wait, is this your? Is this like the? Wait, is this the first time you're admitting on like that two is better than one? Because didn't you used to
yeah,
like one more?
before. So
Oh,
It's
join
cool.
the party, join the club. Yeah.
So, okay, anyways, so let me explain. So basically, for the longest time, I did prefer 1 to 2, but like when I was doing my rankings, like User Illusion 2, even with My World, was still like a bit more consistent, so I just thought, it's actually a better
Disagree. My
album.
World ruins it. Anyways, continue.
So
It
yeah,
doesn't. You
so I
can just,
just,
it's the
yeah,
last song. Skip it.
Yeah, overall value gets lowered by My World. The average gets lowered by at least 20% because it's like in the negatives, the value that it adds.
It's like a minute
yeah,
and a half. I don't really care. It's just
And it's
the
the
album.
it's
last
one
one. You
track.
don't even have
Still
to listen
ruins
to it.
the overall
Okay,
full
anyways, so
album.
yeah, Lose Your Illusion 1, so it's kind of like some of it's like a great like bluesy hard rock style, some of the songs, some like shorter hard rock style songs. There's a few songs could be considered filler, which like I like, but they could be dropped and like it wouldn't change much.
Agree.
But my favorite's November Rain, one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs. It's amazing. I love like the orchestra and just everything about it, just awesome. And then least favorite, You Ain't the First. It's just kind of boring, kind of short, not really a fan.
Slugfest. Oh my god. And I love most of that album.
Fun
Yeah.
song to listen to.
Yeah, but I really love that album. So yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. My number 3, another band I really love. I have Covenant by Morbid Angel. Surprise, surprise. Morbid Angel makes my 90s list too. Yeah, this is kind of like Ultras of Madness from the 80s, except instead of just being like pure like chaos, it's definitely more groovy, kind of groove metal-ish, more heavy hitting, a bit slower, but I love this album almost as much as Ultras. Favorite
Nice.
songs are probably Rapture, Pain Divide, World of Shit, and God of Emptiness.
Okay.
I
What?
love hearing. I just love that these make your list just because I get to laugh at all the absurd and stupid titles of songs and albums that people come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that style of music has some interesting song titles for sure.
Well, back
Yeah,
then, you have to remember this was the 90s. Back then, that was considered like shocking and edgy. Now it's considered cringe, but like still.
Yeah, it's true. That's fun.
all right. Top two, the one that didn't make number one, the one that got left out. This should be interesting. I honestly don't exactly know, although I'm pretty certain that I know it. I might actually, I don't know what I know. I, I will say though, I would be, as much as I will expect it, I would be a little shocked if you put GNR as your number one for decades in back-to-back decades because I didn't even do that with my favorite band, let
Wait,
alone, yeah. So that'd be a little shocking to me, but no spoilers, please. Um,
We'll see.
yeah. So coming in, this was really tight two race. Um, this was really tight. So from 1991, I decided to go with this as my number two, 10 by Pearl Jam. I mean, this is a great record. The second half is probably not as good, but I still like the second half a lot. First half, though, is one of the best first halves of an album, in my opinion. I mean, Once is a great opener, badass song. Even Flow is an example of the like verses being better than the chorus just because the verses are great riff. In the song and then Alive, I mean the guitar solo is one of the best in my opinion and also my favorites. Why Go is a great rocker. Black and Jeremy are obviously considered some of the better grunge songs. They're great. The second half is really good too. Oceans, Garden, Deep Release. There's a lot of cool stuff
Oceans
there.
is very underrated.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's just the first half is like
It's
iconic,
like,
and the second half
yeah,
is like deep cut side kind of. It kind of like it's like two different albums in one, but like both are great, and so it gets like put together to be one kind of great grunge masterpiece. So
sure, one of the
great,
best debut albums of all time.
yeah, for sure. Even if you don't like it, because I know there's
in a
people
Pearl
that
Jam. I'm gonna try again. Because I want to be a Pearl Jam fan,
his
but
voice isn't even like I don't even understand how some people hate it, but I just don't hear it personally because it's not like they have that whiny element. Like I get how people hate Getty or Axl because they can have that whiny aspect to their voice, which I don't
yeah,
mind it, but that's
too
me.
much. Anyway, coming in at number two, You're right. I don't have Guns N' Roses as my top album 2 decades in a row. We've got Use Your Illusion 2 by Guns N'
Oh,
Roses.
nice.
Yes, I had 2 in a row. And I already
I
told
know
you.
what your number one is now. You already told me.
I
Don't
already
spoil it.
told
Come
you.
on.
Anyway,
Oh, guys, it's
Anyway, for me, this album is amazing. I listen to it all the time. The opening 4 of Civil War, 14 Years Yesterdays, and Knocking on Heaven's Door is absolutely amazing. Estranged is a masterpiece. So Fine is So Fine and Breakdown are the 2 most underrated songs on this album.
Agreed. So Fine is probably my favorite or second. It's probably my second favorite that isn't Estranged. So great.
I really like the Don't Cry alt version because I like this album more because I get Don't Cry on it. So that helps put it above 1. But My World, we don't need to talk about it. First 15 seconds are okay. It goes off a cliff.
It starts off really pretty terrible and then just gets even more terrible somehow. Honestly, like I don't.
True.
But you think? Oh my God! I don't think it can get any worse, right? This is rock bottom. They surprise you every time.
Yeah.
It's
should-
literally Guns
Yeah.
N' Roses and new metal, but this will shock you. It's not nearly the worst new metal song. It's
Oh,
like
somehow.
middle tier. Trust me.
It's like
I should
C
know.
tier for the genre if like we're comparing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wait, album ends at Don't Cry alt, no skips. Otherwise, fantastic album. I absolutely love it. But no, it is not my number 1. So
Yeah,
I
like
don't know what your number one is.
obviously I don't prefer it to like Appetite, but sometimes I'm more in the mood for it than if that makes sense. Just because it's like
Yeah,
more
I get
diverse.
that.
I'm just in the mood for
But I
that because
definitely don't like it as much because the songs are just not as good overall compared to Appetite. But everybody knows that. So,
nope, I agree with you on that.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so
I'm really interested to hear this. Okay.
yeah, so funny enough, I also have Use Your Illusion 2 by Guns N' Roses. So yeah,
Damn, I know you're number one now.
yeah, so I really love this album. It's amazing, and it's a bit more piano focused, and it's more consistent than the first. Besides My World, of course, but even with My World included in my rankings, it still ended up being like slightly higher and like consistency wise versus by 1. So that's interesting. And there's some awesome energetic rocker songs, but also like epic longer songs like Estranged. I love that. Favorites,
Yeah,
so
definitely one of those.
yeah. So Civil War, Estranged, Yesterdays, You Could Be Mine, love all these. And least favorite, obviously, My World, it's stupid and bad. I question why it was ever released. So basically, it sounds like an electronic hip hop new metal mashup thing, and it's awful. It just,
It's
yeah,
like dub new metal.
It's not even in the top 15 worst things Axl Rose has done though, but it's pretty bad.
it's just I don't understand why it exists, honestly.
He's actually done, and like that includes music and non-music. So
I meant
Yeah.
mainly non-music things.
Well, we're
Yeah.
just talking about the music, so
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
It's
My
the worst
World is just
music
awful.
done, though, probably.
Agreed.
Actually,
Anyway,
maybe because you could argue One in a Million is technically worse from like an offensive standpoint,
And in like
and
a
just like
song way, no way, it's much better, but it's besides the
the
point.
song is a lot better, but the lyrics are a lot worse. Like it's just so.
Lyrics should be on
Yeah.
there. Lyrics should be in any song, but they're in
That's
but
true.
they're in other too. John Lennon had one with it. I don't get it. It's no, shouldn't be used.
yeah,
Okay.
I agree. Anyways, number 2, you guys probably saw this coming as I hinted towards it a lot throughout the video. Yeah, Dirt by Alice in Chains. Flawless 10. I would give it an 11 out of 10, but I'm not going to because it's not even my number 1 from this decade. But
I have no idea what your number 1 is now.
it used to be one of my PFPs. Never mind. Dirt is flawless. It's got some of the heavy stuff you'd expect from like Facelift, but it's also got more, I guess, I don't know how to describe it. I guess sad, like sad type songs that stuff that you could be out of Jar of Flies, I guess, like that kind of energy. It's a great mixture of like Jar of Flies and Facelift, and
Agreed.
it's amazing. Obviously, Them Bones is amazing. Damn That River. is great. Down a Hole, Rooster, Wood, Angry Chair, Godsmack. I could list most of the album, pretty much the entire album, honestly. No
Yeah.
skips, except maybe Untitled, but that's not
Like in
really
the
a song, so it doesn't count.
You don't really have to skip
Dirt, the
it.
title track is kind of but it's still great.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm fairly confident I know. Actually, I know for a fact what Mariah's is. I feel like I forgot what Nick's is, even though he told me. And then Christoph, I feel like I know what yours is too, which honestly I'm kind of shocked.
My,
And I'm gonna.
my first is my favorite album of all time. I might give you a hint.
All right. Coming
Well,
in
yours
at number.
obviously, but I don't know what Nick's or Christoph's is, so we'll see what the number one is going to be.
I
Yeah.
know what Christoph is. I'm just really shocked it made this high because it wouldn't even have been that close to my list.
Well, if you knew my like, it's kind of just my music taste, but I'll get into that later. But yeah.
I know. I'm gonna ask you about that because I just have a curious question. It won't be like anything directed towards you
Okay.
though.
Cool.
Alright.
So coming in at number one for 1990, to kick off the decade, this album had one of the most impacts towards like. Okay, the weird thing is like I was already a fan of grunge, and obviously everybody knows that's like what a good majority of this list was, especially my top five. And obviously, I liked grunge before this album, but like this album definitely helped get me more into grunge because it was a little less, I guess you could say, harder and heavier. So like it definitely helped get me into it. So this is Temple of the Dog's debut by Temple of the Dog, the only album they ever did.
Nice.
And honestly, it's a flawless album. There are no skips here, not even close to being one. This has my favorite three songs in a row of any album ever. I think the first three are amazing. Say Hello to Heaven is a classic, one of my favorite songs. And then Reach Down, that song is amazing. There's like too many guitar solos to count, but and
It's
then
amazing.
yeah, and then what else? And then obviously like the hit that some people know, some people probably don't, but I would assume a lot of people know. Hunger Strike. So those three songs are great, and then the rest sounds really good. You know, Wouldn't Jesus Call Me a Dog, All Night Thing. Probably a lot I'm forgetting still, but it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, great album. It obviously made mine, and I heard it recently, and I was blown away. So
No, it would like when I first heard it, I was blown away, and like I didn't even like know that I was gonna put it above 10 because I thought that would be my number one coming into this, but I guess not.
yeah.
Nice.
So continuing on the train of unlikely number ones that you don't see in a lot of these videos, I noticed all of my top three are from 1991. It's probably my favorite year in music. It's amazing. Is Skid Row's "Slave to the Grind." This is one of my
Yeah,
favorite.
I knew.
Nice.
Yeah, you know. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I really, really love Use Your Illusion 2, and it was close, but this album is absolutely flawless. There's nothing even close to a skip. Put any song from this on, and I will be beyond happy. Wasted Time is one of my favorite songs ever. In a Darkened Room, Mud Kicker, Creep Show, Living on a Chain Gang, Psycho Love, Quicksand Jesus, Slave to the Grind, Monkey Business, The Threat. Basically the entire album. Absolutely love it. I will say the only song I don't like is they put Beggar's Day on the American release, and they put Get the F Out on the British release. Get the F Out on the British release sucks, but because we're American, we got Beggar's Day, so that's significantly the better song. But the only song I don't like is on the British only release.
Well, then that
Yeah.
doesn't really matter then, but yeah.
It doesn't.
I was gonna say if there's a song that you don't like on like the album that was released to American or I guess just us in general, then I don't understand how that could be number one because none of my number ones from any of the decades have a bad song on them because like for me personally, like I'm not gonna put something at one that I think has a bad song, which is part of the reason why Illusion 2 is lower than I thought it might be. So because my world is
Yeah, I
hard.
don't care. Sometimes stuff could make up for it, but the American version, which is the Spotify version, which is what I have, it's barely made 1991. It came out January 1st. Fantastic album, fantastic cover. One of my favorite albums of all time, for sure. Amazing.
Nice.
Okay, so number one, another
Pretty-
unlikely pick that not many people would have most likely, but that's alright. So, number one, I have Prisoners in Paradise by Europe. I absolutely
I knew
love
it.
this album. So this is like severely underrated. One of Europe's best. I don't know if I prefer this or Out of This World, but it's super close. Like this album is so consistent. Like I love every song on here, and it ended up like ranking like 4.5 out of 5, so that's like really high for me. And just vocals amazing, guitar, the synth and the piano is just so great and just fun to listen to, and there's like nothing I could say that's bad about it. And then my favorites are Halfway to Heaven, Little Bit of Lovin', Seventh Sign, and I'll Cry for You. And then even like my least favorites, Bad Blood and Got Your Mind in the Gutter. I still love these songs, but the other songs are a bit better. So yeah.
Nice. I
Nice.
love
Nice.
common picks. It's really cool, kind of.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna ask is this band must rank a lot higher than like whenever you rank bands last
Oh
because
yeah,
you. And the reason I say that is
they're one
just
of my
based
favorite
on like
bands recently,
to be at least in your top five, I would think, because you put them at
most
two
likely.
and above what is arguably the best Journey album, who I assume is still your favorite band, and then also here at
Yeah,
number one, which I didn't expect. And
yeah. I just love melodic rocks, and I love Europe, and
I
just
don't know
love
if
this
I
album. So
consider them that, but yeah, I agree. I love that genre too, but I'm just not sure if they fall into that category.
yeah.
Nice. Number one, again, the one band I have two albums from. I have Still Life by Opeth, which just so happens
Oh
to be
yeah,
my favorite album ever.
Another pick. It's really that's cool.
these
Anyways,
all of
yeah,
our
this
picks.
is basically Blackwater Park's obviously the most popular album. This is like Blackwater Park, but better, slightly better. Blackwater Park, which would come in 2001, is amazing. Also, this is just slightly better. And yeah, this is where they started experimenting with soft and calming, like I guess sort of sad stuff, as well as heavy, like the heavy parts you'd expect from like a metal band. And they definitely had more progressive elements here.
That's
Yeah,
definitely the most. That's probably by far the most interesting number one we've all had because
For sure.
none of our picks were even common at all. Because even though mine was like still in a genre that was popular during the decade, it's like no one even really pays that much attention to that album, and like it's not even from like it's from a supergroup too, so that already makes it uncommon. But like a lot of people wouldn't. They'd put like Ten or Dirt or Bad Motor Superunknown, something else probably, or Nevermind, which I would never put even on this list
Yeah,
personally.
no, I love half of Nevermind. The rest of it, ugh.
Yeah, yeah, definitely some great number ones. So I just want to ask another follow up question to Christoph again. Like, where would you say that they rank for you? Because you ranked them like very high, even higher than I would expect. And I know you love them, but I didn't expect them to be this high in like two of your lists. That's all.
Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like about where would they be?
I'd say top five about right now. I don't know where, like 3 to 5 ish. I don't know. Depends.
Nice. I really wish they could go back up for me because like they've fallen like out of my like 20 or so range. But like the
It's
thing is like
understandable. I mean, it's been like the opposite for me. Like I've always liked them a lot, but like I was listening to them a lot more. So it's
Wait,
how it
I
Half
goes.
gotta go by the way.
in
Right.
oh, it's
like
fine.
with
Yeah, let's finish
bands.
our pick. See ya.
Well, I was just gonna like say like I love the 86 and 88 album, but like the other albums, like I wish that they were more of that style. And obviously that's being very picky because obviously their other stuff is great too. Like I'm not like I'm not saying I like them less. It's just I guess I don't like them any less. I just like I've liked other bands like if that how I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Like
No,
other
it's
bands have
understandable.
and I've just listened to like more stuff. So yeah, I don't know. They
Nice.
could probably go back up again if I just like listen to them more. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so that was a very interesting list. Obviously, not popular number ones or even really a popular list for a lot of us. Um, my list was probably technically the most basic, but I still think my picks were pretty good. You may disagree. That's okay.
Still a great
Um,
pick.
so anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next two videos.